Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this live chat here. It's an absolutely fantastically beautiful day here in Hong Kong. Markets, on the other hand, not quite as beautiful unless you are a big fan of the color red. Actually, interestingly, Chinese stock exchanges list upwards movements of prices in red and falls as green. So very, very confusing when you see Chinese tickers. But that's slightly besides the story here. Good to have lots of you on the call here. Lots of familiar faces. Andy here, Janice, Mr. Nobody, Gary, now one of our lovely members. Thank you very much for your support, Gary. Just enough, Craig, Hihiman, Ian, and Craig here. Good to have you guys all on the call. What are we going to talk about? Well, we are going to talk about what's going to happen in the market today, a little bit what's been happening yesterday, but really I think we are forward looking here. That's really what the interesting thing is. We did a technical analysis yesterday if you joined our live call. We were actually right. Which is not what I wanted to be, but we were right. The technicals pointed us in the right direction, sadly. So we're going to do a detailed technical analysis, guys. We're also going to look at a couple of news on the battery shortage that NEO has, JP Morgan selling off. There are, of course, we're going to have a quick look at the Nasdaq futures, where that's going to lead us. The Xpeng lockup is expiring today. And we also have a new forecast for EV sales in China up to 2025, which actually looked very good, but that is going to be background noise today, I fear. So actually we could kick off very briefly by just looking. I posted this earlier on in our Discord channel. You can see it here. I posted this little thing. Let me make it a little bit bigger, which is basically what Hong Kong market did today. And you might not be into, actually, I need to show it to you, otherwise you can't see it, right? I make myself small. Here we go. And so I posted this earlier in our Discord channel here, guys. So if you guys want to check that out, you can get there via the Patreon link below in the description. Now, you might not think that particular Hong Kong stocks are interesting, but if you've ever worked in an investment bank, the way it works every morning at 7 o'clock, you sit down in a morning meeting. And if you were in New York, you're going to have calls from your Hong Kong, your Singapore, your Korea, your Tokyo offices, and they're going to tell you what happened there during the day. So the traders in New York basically start their day with a mindset of, this has gone down, this has gone up, therefore they act similarly. So what we can see here is basically all the tech stuff has gone down for a second day in a row here in China. A lot of them with EV connections. Xiaomi, they just announced that EV. I think Geely we're talking a lot about yesterday, big into EVs. And then anything tech, Meituan, Alibaba, Tencent, they're all down, not hugely, but they are down on fairly decent volumes. And then what's up? Well, all the old world, basically, that is sans China, casinos, hotels, property groups, insurance, banks, real estate, infrastructure companies, energy companies, power, all that really kind of old, boring stuff, as a lot of people look at it. Lots and lots of banks here, they are all up. So it's kind of a shift from moving money from tech, moving it into things people perceive as safer and perhaps less highly valued. And that's what we're seeing here. Pre-market in the US, we can also just do a quick roundup here. Churchill, I think I sorted this by volume, because generally speaking, pre-markets, the volumes are very, very low. So a lot of the time, what you're looking at isn't particularly relevant, but if the volumes are big, it is impactful. CCIV down 32% here, massively. People are taking profits. AMC up again a little bit, and then Palantir here down 5.5%. I'm actually going to put a video out on that just afterwards, because I am very bullish on Palantir in the long term, but there is some shorter term pain there for sure. That's kind of it here. We can keep an eye on that. If you buy Sundal also here down 10%. These are some of the really sort of speculative stocks at the moment that are getting a lot of attention for one reason or another. One perhaps simply because it's called Naked, and that's a fun ticker if you look at fun tickers. Lots of you on the call here, guys. Good morning, Stephen, Howard. Good morning to Crete. Just enough here. James, Mark, PP, and Reverend Funny Shoe. Fantastic. There's a rumor you say Tesla will buy NEO. I have not heard that, and I do think that is ridiculous, because what will be the real benefit for them to do that? They are already in China. They have their factories everywhere. They have their technology. They have their motors. They have their IP. I don't really see why they would do that. David, another crash day. Watch Felix video he made earlier. Realized if it drops again today, we'll reach the oversold era, depending on how's that possible. CCIV, we got screwed, valued at 24 billion, not the rumored 12 to 15. Good morning, PGZ there. Okay, fantastic, guys. So I think let's dive into this. One very quickly, we can look at who's been buying NEO. Well, this is the 22nd here. I'll see if I can paint on this. Can I paint on this? My little paint stick seems to have disappeared. No, here it is. Here, 22nd of December, February that. Very little. I saw that this morning, and this has literally just popped up half an hour ago. So, but obviously 10,000 shares, that doesn't make a huge, that's 500,000 US dollars. Sizable amount of money, but not enough to make any kind of move on the market. We can also have a quick look at any big sellers. Nothing. So if these are institutionals, no one has sold yesterday, which is interesting. I think that is actually quite interesting that nobody has. Of course, on the 19th, we had that big JP Morgan Chase sell-off. That's pretty substantial here. If you look at that here, that's, what is that? 7 million shares or so, right? Something like that. A bit more than that, and actually also reducing their actual value. So they're down from 212 million US dollars to just 133 million US dollars into NEO. So that's not a good thing. But that is of course on the 19th. But people do read these things a little bit late, and it does then impact sentiment further. So let's get into the actual chart. So what were we looking at yesterday? Well, what we were talking about yesterday was that we were still up here, right? We were above this line there, and that's the last Fibonacci line, which I'll magnify that for you guys. That's at 54.37, right? That's what we were above yesterday. And we were saying, look, if that falls below that Fibonacci line, then there isn't really anything to stop it until the next sort of support level, which is around $50 or so. And that is pretty much exactly what happened actually on the day. You know, I mean, my pink lines are not always perfectly in place because they're a little bit thick and it's a little bit difficult to get them perfectly spaced. But you kind of see that was basically support there. And then we ended at 50.68. But pre-market, guys, we are down pretty substantially to 46.71. Now, I've made the mistake before of doing technical analysis based on pre-market data. Don't do it. You know why? Because the pre-market data never makes it into the chart. The chart only tracks market opening hours. So while that number is interesting, it doesn't compute into technical analysis. It just doesn't work. I've tried it. So when we drop below the $50 mark, where do we see the next support levels? That's kind of the challenge. And of course, we're going to look at the technical indicators here. But if you're trying to draw lines, and normally what I look for a double support. So you see the end of these little barred bars here. You want the bottom end of it, and you want something that has 2 times basically hitting the same price point. So there's one here, for example, at 41.20, and I'll magnify that for you guys. You see there's that green one here and that red one there. They basically ended on the same period, and that was in December. More recently, we'd love to find something a bit higher, wouldn't we? That has sort of a double whammy. Well, there are single ones. So there is at 47.89, we were there on the 20th of November, but that's not particularly strong because we have trended down since. There is one here at 47.77, but I would put that in here with a bit of caution. I'm going to make that a bit thinner because I don't think that is particularly strong. That is literally just like one time sort of a thing. You could, of course, do the same here at 49.06. But again, that is just a one-time thing. And then you can see you sort of working your way down, hoping to find something where there is a little bit more support than that. There is perhaps a little bit more around the sort of $45 line here. There are some here. Yeah, that's actually perhaps a little bit of a better one there. I'm going to make that one a little bit bolder. So when you look for support levels, so ideally what you'd like for the stock to have hit that level once, bounced up, a second time bounced up, and ideally a third time bounced up. And then you kind of think, okay, the market has hit that 3 times in a row, and each time it has gone up, it hasn't gone through it. So when you are in these sell-off phases, that's when you start to appreciate the horizontal movements that we moan about when the stock isn't really going up, it's just trending sideways. That's what gives you support. When you are rallying up, you miss the support. You just don't get it because you haven't gone down, and therefore when you do fall, you fall harder, and that's what we're seeing here. Now let's look at some indicators, guys. Well, we did also draw in yesterday this, let me move up a little bit here, this blue triangle, right? We painted that in. We were basically saying, look, if we cross, we were still above it, we were here, right? If we cross out of it in a positive way, then you have a rally. If you go below it, it gives you a sell-off indicator. So we go very, very, very much here, got a sell-off. We went out of it very quickly. It didn't sort of do this and then go out. That still would have been bad, but we basically just fell out of it. And is that going to do with nearest fundamentals? No, I think not. I think a lot of it is just sentiment. Tesla also, Nasdaq futures, generally speaking, and we're going to look at those in a second too. So let's have a quick look at the RSI here. And if you know me, guys, I always put one at 50. I put a line in. Why do I do that? Because I think you really only get a buy or sell indicator when you cross that 50-point line. If you go from above to below, it gives you a sell-off. When you go from below to above, it gives you a buy signal. We've had actually very, very few buy and sell signals from the RSI because we have been in this positive world for quite some time. But now what we're seeing down here, I should probably change the color, but I'm going to keep it green. I'm going to keep it positive, and then I'm going to magnify that for you guys here. So we crossed through it. That was a couple of days ago now. That was the 17th, and momentum is actually worsening here, and that's what we're seeing. It's not a positive one there at all. What works quite well together is RSI and MACD. I always used to say I used to work in investment banking for a little while, and we tracked quite a lot of stocks using technicals, especially these technicals, and we'd look at when a stock has sort of several green or red flags against a number of technicals. That's when you really look into it. I would never trade on just one of them. And now the MACD has actually given us a sell-off signal on the sort of 25th, 26th of January. It has actually been negative all this time, but the distance, so the blue line dips below the orange MACD signal line. That's a sell-off signal. That's what it did here, what I'm magnifying. And then it stayed below that, and it never really crossed over it again, even when we had a little bit of a rally before this last sell-off. And now it's worsening. And what you can see from these little red bar charts down there, when the color stays red, dark red, it's telling you that the amount of sell-off is increasing by unit. So each day it's getting a little bit worse. That's what we're seeing here. When they are light red, that's what you kind of want to see if you're long on something. They are lessening. The volume is lessening. So we are here seeing an increase in volume. However, volumes, and that's why I'm highlighting here, are still very, very, very low. So very little sell-off is moving this stock and many stocks. If you just sort of do that kind of a line here, what I'm doing here in pink, let me change the color on that so not everything is the same color. I'll make that red and a little bit thinner. So you can see that little thin line I've drawn in there, and I'll magnify it for you guys if you are on a small screen. You can see volume is just continuing to fall off, and that is also, generally speaking, low volumes mean sell-offs. Very easy to then get a sell-off. You just pretty much need one sizable order and you are there. And we can see that in the net volumes down here. So net volumes yesterday were just minus 67 million. The day before we had 47 million. And the day before that 62. These are very, very low volumes. And again, you can see that if you sort of draw some lines around them. I always encourage, if you do some chart analysis, draw lots of lines, because it kind of shows you things. You can see the pattern. The volume is getting smaller on both on a buy and on a sell level, and that just goes to show a lot of the market is sitting on the sidelines. They are either sitting on their hands piling up some cash, or they're simply just waiting to see what's going to happen in the market, or perhaps they're starting to buy things like banks. Again, they're buying boring things because they're worried about volatility. Now let's look at one more here, and this is I would call it calling the bottom indicator. So it's a combination with the Williams R is a big factor in this, and what the Williams R is showing, and that's perhaps the silver lining down here, it is down here below that dotted line, and that is saying it's oversold, and it's quite substantially oversold. It's sort of minus 100, which is really quite substantially oversold. Typically, when you are down there, you do then get a retracement back up, like we had it. We had it over here. That was not the straightest of lines, is it? But you see that one here. We fell below in the oversold territory, and we went back up, and we've been hovering around here a little bit, but not very successfully. Well, we did go back up, of course, here. So we did do that again. So that is kind of the slight silver lining there. And if you look at how low we are in the oversold territory, I'm going to put a little line in here so we can all see it, and then go back in time. Crikey, you have to go back quite a long time. You have to go back till the 5th of March. That's the last time we were that oversold according to this indicator. And that is why this indicator is calling the bottom of a market. Now, it's going to be wrong. And that's one thing I think to realize with indicators. You have to kind of put it into perspective. You have to look a little bit what's going on. One thing is pre-market, we're down -8%. And it's a similar story for Tesla. And generally speaking, market sentiment today is not going to be a good one. And you can also see that, well, we see it from the Asian tech stocks. That's going to flow over a little bit. And we can also see it from the Nasdaq future here. If you want to track that for yourself, guys, that's NQ1 exclamation, which is a funny ticker symbol, but there we are. And that is falling off. That's down -7.8% today. It's also calling the bottom on that. So that is also just indicating here how strong it is, but it has. You can see that here in late January, it called for 4 days the bottom of the market. So it's not that it's wrong. It's just that it calls out an excessive move that it finds a little unusual and gives you an indicator. So you always need to, with indicators, kind of think this through for yourself and put it into a real world perspective. It certainly can't predict event-driven things. So when something happens in the real world, some sort of announcement of one form or another, you know, this doesn't tell you that, but it is still enlightening. I certainly find it enlightening. And you can see here, even for the Nasdaq futures, we are down here very, very oversold, much more so than we have been for really quite some time. The last was in late October, November, and then of course we've had a very nice rally since then. So overall, I'm sorry, I would wish I could paint a happier, rosier picture, but I think it's important to look at what the technicals say to you, and to me, as always, guys, not financial advice. This is straight out of the goat's mouth. So if you hit that like button, guys, I'll donate 1 cent to our mascot here, Baron von Goat, and his creature friends at the Gentle Barn Sanctuaries, guys. So please keep those likes coming. It supports these sanctuaries, especially as we are in COVID still and they haven't got any visitors, so they're struggling to raise funds there. Now, we are going to take questions, of course, as we always do. If you are new to our channel, I run through pretty much every single question here in the live chat, guys. So do put the questions in there, and I will go through that in just a second. And I think one thing to look at today is XPeng. Now, XPeng's lock-up period is over today. That means that the people who are in management positions, founders, private equity funds who were tied up from the IPO date till today, they have not been able to trade those shares that they hold. That's a lock-up period, which you have for most IPOs, well, all IPOs. Exactly who gets locked up and for how long, it depends a little bit on the IPOs. We saw it with Palantir, for example. That was quite an unusual situation there, that massive sell-off. So XPeng today, you could see more sell-off than usual if some of the bigger investors drop out. There is, of course, a chance, given the trajectory the stock has had. It's not the prettiest picture. If you connect the dots here, you know, well, does it let me connect the dots? No, it doesn't want to. It's put a horizontal line, and there we go. If you know, that is kind of the trajectory what we're on here. It really isn't a very pretty one. So that perhaps some of the investors might think, well, I'm going to wait out this dip and sell a little bit later. But there you might see an increase in volume there today, and that would, generally speaking, be a sell volume. So be a little bit wary of XPeng today. A lot of the time, people think that these days when the lockup is over are good buying opportunities. So wait for everyone to dump in the morning and then they jump in. But today is going to be a bit of a red day in my view. I'm not usually a pessimist, but I think just if you look at the size of pre-market moves here are pretty substantial. Minus 2.6% on XPeng. Tesla here says minus 5.3%. I actually find that Google is quite often more accurate on the pre-market than this trading view, what I'm looking at here. So we're just going to pull those up to and have a quick look there. NIO down minus 7.9% and Tesla minus 5%. Bear in mind, guys, though, the pre-market volume is typically pretty low. So we can have a look here at the Nasdaq pre-market changes. Right, we've got Baidu down, Tesla here, 2.5 million shares. Let's have a quick look at, just to put that in perspective, what's their typical volume here? Where can I see that? Indicator volume. I don't want net volume, I just want volume. Here we go, volume. So volume, oh, it doesn't show me. How do I see the actual number of this? Oh, it shows me here on the side. So volume yesterday was 37 million shares. The day before, 18 million shares. So it sort of puts it into perspective that pre-market 2.5 million shares is not a huge amount, but it's still about 10% or so of the average trading volume these last couple of days. And you see basically everybody is pretty much down here. Let's see who's got the most trading volume. It's Apple and Tesla. Everything else is pretty small. What's gaining? Trip.com, Marriott. I think Marriott's got earnings coming out, right, this week. I haven't seen them yet, though. So yeah, it's not looking particularly rosy, is it? I think that's really what's going on here. If you look at Nasdaq, generally speaking, pre-market, there are some actually really big volumes in here. Look at that. Yunhong, Castor Maritime, Sundial, Naked, huge volumes pre-market for those kind of stocks. And we're seeing here changes, percentage numbers. Some of them are not looking too pretty. So we're going to keep an eye on that, of course. But yeah, it's not looking, Lily here says, damn, what a bloodbath. Yeah, it's not looking very pretty. I'm sorry, I can't give you better news. Now, let's have a quick look over at the Dow Jones, because that's kind of the story we saw in China, that the old guard was gaining today. Pre-market, Chevron, Boeing, Walt Disney, Coca-Cola are up somewhat. Let's look at the biggest volume, guys. That's Apple with the sell-off there. And then Chevron up. So American Express is also up pre-market. Dow is Boeing, as JP Morgan is a little bit. So you might see a similar story to what we've seen in Hong Kong today, that money is pouring into the old industries, the old world, insurance, banks, all that kind of stuff that's seen as a little bit more safe perhaps, and has seen less of a rally over the last couple of months, and therefore people are pouring in there to kind of find a bit of value. Can we have a quick look at commodities? If there's anything major happening there? Gold's up just a fraction, nothing very much there, not really huge movements. Yeah, so nothing huge happening over there really. But yeah, I think generally speaking, just keep looking at the volumes here. Churchill, of course, is one of the big ones up there, getting punished today. A highly speculative play. Is that the right Churchill Capital? I imagine it is. Yeah, this is 4, because there are a lot of Churchill Capitals, guys. There are like 7 or 8 of them now. So make sure you're always looking at the right one. Now, there is a bit of good news. I'm going to share that with you guys. And then, of course, I'm going to go to your questions and we'll sort of look at that. Now, this is, I don't know how big is that for you. Let me zoom in a little bit on that. I think you can see it a little bit better. That's just out today. This is an analysis from China, from Chinese analyticals, basically pointing a rather rosy picture for the EV market. And it's telling us in green, that is ICEs basically, and the little blue thing are EVs. The black line is the percentage of all cars that are EVs. So the black line in 2021 is something like just under 10%. In 2022, it'll be 15 to 17%. In 2023, it'll be 22% or so, and so on. And then it goes up to about 35% of all cars sold by 2025 are expected to be EVs. And at the same time, actually, the car market in China is growing. It is probably it's the biggest car market in the world, and it's still growing very nicely. So last year was a very appalling year for the car market, actually, because of COVID, of course, about 20 million cars sold. And that's going to incrementally climb back up to sort of 2018 levels, to sort of 24, 25 million. And that's of course good news for the market. And it also means that EVs, we're going to sell something like 7-8 million of them in 2025. So that is good long-term news for everybody in the EV sector. You know, Tesla, of course, particularly NIO, XPeng and everybody else. But I don't think the market is going to pay much attention to that today. So yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. Guys, let's look at some of your questions, and we'll make this a little bit of a discussion. If you like discussing things, guys, also join our Discord group. I've got it up open over here. We chat about all sorts of things there. It's growing very, very, very nicely. And you can click on the Patreon link below. That's what takes you there. And I share things in there that I can't share in the videos. One is the YouTube algorithm it likes certain things. And I look at probably 100 things in a day and I make maybe 5 of them finds it into a video. So the other things that are interesting, I can put them over there and we can discuss them. And everybody else, of course, is also sharing. And it's a nice like-minded community where we can disagree, but we have a sort of shared passion for certain stocks and investing. So let's look at a little bit of questions here. What of you guys, what are you worried about? PLTR prediction, says AK there. I'm putting out a video on that afterwards. I think today it's also not looking very rosy. It's down 6% pre-market. It's just the whole tech sector is getting penalized. Momentum is not looking particularly good. I've just literally done a video on that, but I haven't put it out yet. We are still in a sort of sell-off pattern here in terms of momentum, which is a shame because I think it's a very good company. I know some people don't like it from a political point of view, but I do think it is a solid company, and long term I'm very, very bullish on it. But can they escape a sort of downward market? No, I don't think so. So I think today it looks like we're certainly going to open pretty low, though I didn't see them on the list of the sort of high volume ones. I don't think I can see the pre-market volume on here on Palantir, but yeah, if you look at a lot of the indicators here, something like Williams R is probably one of the fastest ones. You can still see, well, we're not really in the doghouse anymore. We are also not trending up. You want to see that kind of a motion, and at the moment we are not. We're kind of zigzagging around down there, and a lot of that's got to do with just the market, generally speaking. Santander says long-term Neo, don't get caught up with daily figures. I think, what's the Warren Buffett quote? It's basically the patient take away money from the impatient in the stock market. It's all about patience, and I agree with that. I like to buy things and hold them. I actually did buy Palantir around 28 a couple of days ago, and I'm of course going to keep holding that. I mean, I say of course, but that's what I'm going to do, and I'm hoping to still have that in 5 years or 10 years. So however, if you want to, if I wanted to really time a buy, I would normally wait to get a buy signal. I don't mind missing the very bottom of the dip if I actually buy in an upward momentum rather than buy the slide. And at the moment, it looks like today is going to be a bit of a slide. As always, guys, this is not financial advice. This is straight out of the goat's mouth. This is our channel mascot, guys. So hit that like button. I'll donate 1 cent to him and all his pals in these sanctuaries that we support here every day. Thoughts on potential price for earnings after this decline, says James there. Well, I mean, at the moment we are sliding, right? It's kind of difficult. You can see from where we have support levels here, a substantial drop is possible. The earnings, I think expectations are very high. I think we might see a good surprise from delivery numbers. I think that could perhaps be something that kind of supports the market again. We also have Li Auto's numbers coming out before these. I think Li Auto is on the 25th. Guys, so make sure you join us for that. I'll do a live on that. We're going to listen to the analysts, to the full company presentation live, and also the analyst questions and everything. That's on the 25th of February, depending where you are in the world. I think New York time, that is that 7:30 a.m. or something like that in New York? Anyway, I'll put it up the live and you guys can see it. So make sure you're subscribed. Otherwise, you'll miss out on that live. We've got loads of earnings we're going to cover live today. And it's such a good opportunity, I think, to really understand the stock that you are holding or interested in holding. Because not only do you get to hear the company doing their presentation, but the investment bank analysts that cover that stock are going to ask questions, and it gives you a huge insight into what they're thinking, what they're concerned about, what they're looking at. So I highly, highly recommend to spend that hour and really learn something insightful there. Do you think NEO will see 60 again this year? Look, I mean, I don't think, I mean, we're seeing a sell-off here. At the moment, I don't think this is a sort of big crash situation. And even if you look back at where we were last year when we did have a crash, I mean, it's so tiny now, you can hardly see it, right? Where did it go? Where is it? Where is our enormous crash of 2020 that we were all freaked out about? It was here somewhere. And, you know, but you basically you get the point, right? That in we had a huge, someone's calling me. Apologies, guys. I'm going to hang up on that. we had a huge sell-off here in March, but now it seems so teeny tiny that it seems not particularly important anymore. So why is that? Well, we got out of that very, very quickly. Let me make that a percentage. Maybe we can still see it. Okay, we can't really see it on there. I'm going to show you on here. Yeah, not much of a crash on NIO, was there? Well, let's look at Tesla, for example. That's perhaps the better example. You can see where is it? Where is it? It's here basically. That little dip there that we saw. Well, it was from 160 down to 72, so that was more than a little dip at the time. Why did we come out of it so very quickly? Because the U.S. government started printing money faster than they ever have before. 25% extra cash of M2, and also we are seeing stimulus, and I think that's going to continue. I don't think they're going to turn the tap off because they're scared. And do you want to be the president that tanked the economy, or do you just want to increase the deficit? Well, you just increase the deficit. You don't really care in the long run anyway, right? So I think that's what governments are doing. So I think we are seeing, for me, this is more of a mini correction rather than a crash. And so far, every time in the last 9 months or so, or even 12 months, when we had these corrections, we have gone back down. Tesla, for example, went from 500 down to 366, right? 330 even, and then it recovered very nicely. And we have had these quite substantial dips, even in January, right? Look at January, we went from 880 to 793. And now we are falling off here a little bit more gently, a bit over a longer period of time. So, I think it's a question of patience, really, and a question of look at what's in your portfolio, and I certainly do that, and think, is there anything in there that I fundamentally don't believe in the long run, and I try to get rid of those. But the stocks that I think are going to be growers, earners, and compounders over the next 5 to 10 years, that's kind of what I like to hold. And I'm certainly bullish on the EV sector in the long run. I mean, look at, where was that picture I had here? Just in China, it's going to be 7 million EV cars sold in 2025. That's a lot of EVs, and it's going to be the same around the world. Perhaps a little bit slower around the world, but it'll be a very, very sizable number. And some companies will benefit from that. I think Tesla will benefit from that disproportionately, and others, of course. And as long as you think that companies like NIO will survive, perhaps in the long run, the valuations will eventually be lower multiples. I think that is possible. Look at the benchmarks here, for example, what I've got open here. NIO is 63 times price to book. Tesla is 30 times price to book. So there is a bit of that. But then, Tesla's PE ratio is to the moon. And well, I mean, with Tesla, there is the point that they are potentially a disruptor for lots of industries, and I can see why people are they're so excited about it. And they've got Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is worth many billions of dollars to any stock. So, guys, I'll take more questions here. Theodore here saying, do you think NIO will rise despite all this EV sell-offs? Do you think earnings is a strong catalyst that can beat this bearish market? Theodore, honestly, no. I think generally speaking, earnings are important, but a market is more important. And especially if Tesla is sliding, every time Tesla slides, basically NIO does the same thing. I pull up Tesla for you here too, and you can basically see the trend. So the orange line here is Tesla. And then let me hide all of my squiggles. And actually, let me make this a line too. It's easier to see line by line. You can see a pretty strong correlation here. Yeah, of course, NIO has performed fantastically, but that's because they've sort of taken Tesla's longer growth of 10 years in terms of valuations. But there is a pretty close correlation, and we can kind of make that a little bit more exaggerated like that. You can see when NIO goes up, it does that. And then when Tesla starts to drop, so, Tesla here started to drop on the 8th of February. And then very shortly afterwards, that red line, NIO does the same thing. So Tesla has the power basically to pull down the EV market. It is essentially a one stock market index, if you will. So I think as much as I'd like that to be the case, I think that as lovely as earnings are, they'll help in the long run. But it does take a little bit more than just good earnings to move a market like that when everything is negative. And at the moment, Nasdaq futures are coming down more and more every day. Not to particularly hugely low levels, but it's just that we have been spoiled. And I think that's something to remember. We have had, you know, the rally of all rallies these last couple of, look at this, right? Since 23rd of March, we have been on this incredible trajectory here that has just been absolutely fantastic, and we've all enjoyed the benefits of it. You know, it's done that. It's just in colossal rise. How much has this gone up by? Just let me just show you. You can see it here in percentage terms. Well, here's percentage. 84% the Nasdaq futures have gone up. So, you know, that is unusual, and therefore you see a bit of corrections. We had a similar correction in September, right? We went down quite a bit. We had it again in October. These are not unusual movements. It's just we sort of forget that not everything goes up every day, every week, all the time, continuously. The market does zigzag. So Stephen here, something about that. Okay. Kuhn, did your opinion change on when the NEO share price will roughly break out blue lines? So the blue lines here are, let me move in, zoom in a little bit on that, guys. I know some of you are on small screens. So the bright blue lines was a triangle I put in. And when you put in these sort of triangles, if you fall out of them in a southerly fashion, it basically gives you a sell-off indicator. When you go above it, it gives you a you know, it's going to be a rally signal. So that's kind of what we had here. We fell out of that yesterday quite significantly. Let me put the candles back up here. It's a little bit clearer. This blue path here, this channel in the background, that is the long-term growth channel that we've been on very nicely. And we have gone above it, you know, like here. And now we are going below it. And that's the first time in quite some time that we are flattening off somewhat substantially. Now, it has held up quite nicely, but, you know, that's kind of where we are moving. You could also look at some Bollinger Bands, but I think they know what that's going to show us. There we are. We are obviously way below them. I know there's quite a lot now on this chart. I apologize. You can see here faintly in the background. Let me magnify that for you guys as well. That is the lower end of the Bollinger Band. We are below it. And then here, that gray line up there is the sort of mean of it. Generally, you find there is a sort of reversion back to the middle. That's the statistical theory. And that's typically the case, but it can, of course, get dragged down. That's what we're seeing at the moment. When you break out of it, typically you go back into it. But, you know, at the moment, everything is moving and all indicators are basically pointing a not particularly rosy picture. If you've just joined us, we've just gone through quite a lot of indicators, say RSI, MACD, all giving us sell-off signals. And in terms of support, well, there is some. But there isn't any for quite some time, really. I mean, we are, you know, 45, for example, there is some support there, and then below that again at 41. So these are pretty big gaps, but that's the kind of jump we saw yesterday. So it is possible we'll see that again today. I don't want to be a doomsayer. I'm just saying what the technicals are saying is they're basically saying momentum is in the sell-off direction. The momentum is not telling me to buy something on a technical basis. So thank you very much for that question there, Kern. Appreciate it. Elias, thank you very much for your kind words there. Do you want to sell now and buy now? Look, I mean, I can't give you specific financial advice. I'm strictly not permitted to do that, and I don't do that. But if you look at something like the RSI, if you want to trade on a sort of short-term basis, then you know, the sell-off signal was on the 17th. When we were at sort of 55.90, that's when we got a sell-off signal from that, for example. Now, you can also look at other indicators that MACD, for example, that actually gave us a sell-off signal on the 25th of January when we were at $58, and it has been a sell-off segment the whole time. The last time it gave us a buy signal was on the 31st of December when we were at 48. So you would have gone from 48 and then you would have sold off at 58. You would have made $10. Very nice, but you would have missed some of the peaks. So I think it really depends on everyone's investment horizon. Like what pain do you feel when it goes down? Nobody enjoys watching their stocks going down. But you know, can you sleep at night if this goes down another 10% or 20%? If you cannot, then I think that's probably your answer, but you have to come to that conclusion yourself. Or do you just think, well, I don't really care. I'm going to hold this thing for 10 years. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not going to need to touch this money for 10 years. Then your horizon's a very different one. And then maybe, Google some Warren Buffett quotes. He always talks about patience, patience, patience. If you fundamentally believe in a company, then and you believe in the valuation, then that is something to do. So it really, I think, depends on everyone's investment horizon. How often do you like to trade, for example? Like, I don't like to buy and sell the same thing all the time. I'd rather sort of sit things out, but that's me. I have a fairly high tolerance for stock price sliding, as long as I fundamentally believe the company is going to perform and there is some compounding in revenue and profits there and market share, or if it's a growth company, I just fundamentally believe that that company is going to have a solid position and it eventually have a moat. Reverend Funny there, can your earnings report help raise the share price? Like, I mean, I think, of course, it can support it. If it beats expectations, you can have good numbers, but miss expectations by $1 and you get hit over the head. That's what happened to Tesla, for example, right? When their earnings came out. Or they can have a nice surprise and they can say, hey guys, in February we sold 7,500 cars. Now that'd be a very, very nice surprise. And that would help give it support. But if you are in a major sell-off, I mean, look at what happened in March, right? Everything sold off. Amazon sold off, right? And you just think, well, this is a pandemic. We're going to be locked in the house. We can look at Asia. Everyone is basically sitting at home under lock and key. And let me just show you that here. Can I show you that here on this chart? Where are we? So, Amazon was at 2,100, it went down to 1,800. And you're thinking the one sector that would benefit from this would be logistics and e-commerce very clearly, and then perhaps pharmaceuticals and certain other things. But that still went down. Everything went down. The market is indiscriminate when it is in a bad mood, and we are in a little bit of a bad mood. I don't think we're in a March bad mood, but I think we are in a bit of a bad mood, generally speaking, today. Let's have a quick look again what's happening pre-market here. Let me just refresh that to make sure this is up to date. Let's look at Nasdaq 100 here first. We're going to look at the biggest volume items because the small volume kind of becomes a bit irrelevant. Apple, Tesla, AMD are the big sell-offs here. Apple and Tesla really wants with the volume, and all the software guys, basically Microsoft, JD, Intel, Facebook, PayPal, PDD, everybody's just getting hit over their heads a little bit there. And then in terms of size of sell-off, it's Tesla, Baidu, PDD, PayPal, AMD, etc. This is basically software, right? Look at that. That's the who's who of the tech sector. Tech sector is getting hit. Why? Well, look what happened in Hong Kong today. You might not really recognize all of the names, but this is basically all tech. The whole thing that's red is all tech, and that was continued to be in this sell-off. Well, actually, the market overall was up today in Hong Kong, which is, I think, an interesting thing to note. And then if you look at the Dow Jones, the biggest volume here, Apple, of course, but then Chevron's up, Boeing's up still, Walt Disney up a little bit, JP Morgan up a little bit, and Boeing, despite having, I think, engines falling out of the sky again over the Netherlands today. So it's kind of the money pouring into the old world and pouring out of the tech world. And moving into cyclicals and that kind of thing, it's a bit of a move. It just means people are a little bit jittery. The Nasdaq future is still down here. That generally points to a negative opening for the market. Interestingly, I don't know if you saw that long-term Treasury yields are up. And what does that mean? It's always complicated, isn't it? When people say that Treasury yields go up when the price of Treasury bonds go down, right? That's how it works. The price goes down and you can hold it for 10 years. You basically get back more than you paid for it, and therefore the yield is higher. Why is that happening? Because actually investors are quite bullish on the stock market. That's why they are taking money out of government bonds, which is the safety haven. They're putting in the stock market. Why? Because generally speaking, I think the market believes that this Biden government will keep stimulating and this Federal Reserve will keep printing money and stimulating the economy generally. And as long as that doesn't stop, I don't think we're going to get into a real crash situation. But we are seeing jitters in the tech sector, and that's where we are with NEO as well. NEO is essentially a tech stock. Lots more questions here, guys. I appreciate them all. Thank you very much. He-Man says, the mini correction, I now call it a bad move. It's an improvement. Well, it is I look for the technical, say I look at momentum, and you can look at momentum also at a moody individual. Sometimes they're happy, they've taken their meds, and sometimes they are not happy because they haven't taken their meds. Does it worry that many new investors have not experienced a sell-off like this before and will panic sell, says Howard? Yes and no. I mean, a lot of the market, of course, has experienced last March. That was very, very recently. It has also made them more bullish, and they kind of think, well, okay, if it does sell off, well, I'm just going to hold or I'm going to buy more. But you are right. There are a lot of retail investors out there who perhaps got in after March, and everybody thinks they're a genius. And, you know, we've all been geniuses since the 23rd of March, because pretty much everything we've touched has gone up. That doesn't mean we are wonderful stock pickers. It just means we are living in a wonderful, huge bull market. And that's fantastic. So I see what you mean there. I think there is very high confidence, and you see very high confidence levels near the top of the market. If we didn't have this US government in place, and if we didn't have this chairman of the Fed in place, I would not be so bullish. But we do have those, and I do think that they are intending on keeping the US economy on steroids, basically on life support in a positive way. They keep basically on a drip. Let's call it a vitamin drip. The US economy is on a vitamin drip, and it wants more, and they're going to give it more. That's what I think. And once they stop, once they start to slow down, taper that off, that's when I'm worried, and that's perhaps when I'm going to start buying long-term Treasury bonds. But at the moment, I don't see it, because, well, I just think that the money's going to keep coming. And when they print money, when they inflate the amount of money out there, where does it go? Well, it goes to fund managers, it goes to investors, it goes to PE funds. And what do they do with it? They leverage it. So they get $1 billion, they make 5 billion or 7 billion out of it. Why? Because interest is basically zero. So it just causes massive, massive asset inflation. And we see it in stocks, we see it in Bitcoin, we see it in real estate, we see it everywhere. Bitcoin, of course, today also having a rather spectacular day. It's back up to 48,000. It was 46,000 when I just last looked at it. We are seeing a bit of a pullback there. Though if you look at RSI, for example, here, and this is all momentum driven. Forget MACD for Bitcoin, because it's far too slow. You got to look at really fast moving ones. So Williams R, for example, very, very fast moving. That is actually on the negative sentiment here. We had 48,000. So yeah, let's see. We were lower today, of course. We were as low as 44,660. If you want to watch one chart that is really fun and exciting to watch, watch a Bitcoin chart and play around with the technical indicators, because it shows you the effectiveness of technical indicators in basically live faster than anything else, because nothing moves as volatile as Bitcoin does. So thanks for that question there, Howard. Very thoughtful question. Mohammed is basically saying, don't panic, be calm. It's a normal thing, nothing new. I think the calm long-term investor does win in the end. Gary Lau, welcome to the chat here, one of our lovely members. Good to have you on here. I did put it on our Discord, Gary. You should have gotten the message. If you want to join our Discord channel, guys, you can do that by clicking on the Patreon link below. We share a lot of information over there, and throughout the day and night, etc. Essentially, I post stuff over there. You can see some of the posts I put earlier. For example, I put the Nasdaq futures earlier today, and we had these technical indicators there. That was a couple of hours back. So if you want to also chat with me, you can do that over there too during the day. I am pretty responsive. FTSE's flat today. Money's rotated rather than being pulled from equities, says just enough. I haven't looked at the FTSE today yet. FTSE 100. I mean, we saw the same in Hong Kong today. The market was actually up. FTSE is, not much happening here. If you look, for example, at the Hang Seng index, that's one of the major Asian indices. Obviously, I'm here in Hong Kong, which is why I pay attention to it. It's actually up 1%. That's because the old world has gone up, and a lot of the Hang Seng is property and finance, because Hong Kong is a property and finance hub. The tech stocks make actually up a smaller proportion there. So it's not all doom and gloom. It is just a question of what sector. And if we're looking here at Nasdaq in particular, we see some pretty heavy moves. Yun Hong is now up 71% pre-market. I have no idea why. If anybody knows, do share. That'll be interesting to know. But then you do have yeah, Tesla is still here, down 6% with a fairly, it's not a huge volume for Tesla, but it's sort of 10-15% of the daily volume. So it also isn't insignificant. And then from a Dow Jones point of view, who are our winners, still Chevron being up here, the biggest one. And in terms of volume, it's still Apple. Apple is being pulled down by this. Intel slightly, Microsoft slightly, but those volumes are pretty small, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. US 30 futures also, you can see here, guys, are down slightly, as is the US 500 futures. So that is also indicating that I think the Dow will probably, and S&P will probably open in a slightly negative fashion, but not hugely. We can also look at the S&P 500 here again. Let's look at the biggest volume items. Why do I look at the biggest volume items? Because pre-market volumes tend to be very, very low. And then when they're very, very low, once the market opens and the volume is like 100 times that, the pre-market stuff is no longer particularly relevant. When the volumes are sizable, it makes a difference. So you have here Apple, Carnival Corp, Tesla, American Airlines, are selling off there. Carnival Corp, is that the cruise liner? Is that what it is? I don't know. Macy's is up somewhat. So a little bit money pouring into Old World. Let's see who's gaining here on low volumes though. Just United Airlines. So generally speaking, the market is not looking very positive. Marriott is up a little bit, but tiny volume. L Brown's, Macy's. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. Probably not the funnest day to be glued to a ticker screen. So that was my warning there. Angelo says, I'm down 20% on my portfolio. The smartest option seems to hold. A correction is healthy. There's a difference between the market crash and a correction. And this is a slow pullback. Go long, says Angelo. Angelo is a very calm mind there. What about NEOS volume? How do you see pre-market volume? Does anybody know? Let me try that here. NEOS stock pre-market volume. I know there are some websites that show you that, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh, the Nasdaq.com might tell us. Here we go. Where is it? Where is it? It's loading. You get that lovely little N there. The last 100 trades. Okay, that's not that useful, is it? Yeah, that's kind of like, okay, they're tiny trades. You can see teeny tiny trades here. Nothing sizable. The Nasdaq website sadly is pretty slow. I don't know if anybody's got it, guys. Post a link if you can see. I don't know where you see pre-market volume, to be honest with you. I don't usually look at it that much. Can we see it here? 23rd of February, total volume. That could be it. Pre-market session VWAP, a statistic, 5 million volume. Okay, let's compare that to our volumes these last couple of days. So yesterday our volume was 68 million. So 8% or something like that. I've never looked at this website before, but it's probably correct. About 5 million volume pre-market. I also can't tell you how that compares, to be honest with you. But you can see down here the trades. I guess, is that a cumulative volume? Can we see the trades? No huge trades there. This is a better website. Nasdaq, you should improve your website. They're all small trades. These are investors like you and me who are jumping ship because they're a little bit scared, or perhaps they had stop losses set. So thanks there for that question. That's a good point. Home Depot figures just came out. Okay, I know, I saw that, but I haven't looked at them yet. Are they any good? Just enough? Let us know. Thanks for all your info, Alvin. That you're very kind. Currently 3.65 million and growing, fast on your volume. Joseph saying that you were faster than me. Looks like we are now at 4.98 million. I'll hit refresh on that. I don't know if the website updates it automatically. It's still 5 million. Okay, so it is growing. So that sell-off does seem to be somewhat intensifying, I would think. What does Google say here? Down 9% now. Ouch, we're at $45 there. $45. Where do we have the last support here on Neo? Let me get rid of these lines here. We were at sort of stronger support at sort of 45.60 or so, and in pre-market now we are at just above that. So yeah, it could be a A very, very red day, guys, today. What about Xpang? Okay, let's look also on this lovely website. I'll just put that in a new window. We could probably just type in XPEF here. See if that works. There we go. Pre-market volume 2 million. Let's compare that to typical XPEF volume the last couple of days. Yesterday, that was 22 million. Is that right? I think so. I think 22 million yesterday was the volume. So similar percentage, about 10% or so there. Hold the line, 45 is a steal. Future terminal says NEO pre-hour, 3.74 million transaction. Thank you very much for sharing that there, Miss D. You are undoubtedly quicker than me. It seems we are now up here on this number to about 5 million or so. Is this one? Yeah, this is also NEO. I've got it open twice. So we are now up. Yeah, volume there. At times like these, BRK says Gary Lau. Yeah, I haven't read their announcement yet, but they've sold off some Apple, right? And they bought some more and more oldie wordy things. And I think he's also out of JP Morgan, which is interesting because he was quite strongly into banks. But they haven't sold off all the Apple, but they've sold off some Apple. Expectations for today, CCIV, well, it's looking pretty red today, isn't it? I think CCIV pre-market is down 36%. And that's actually also, I think, one of the biggest volume items we are seeing earlier today, at least. Here, Churchill Capital, 18 million shares traded there. That's pretty significant. So yeah, I think that is gonna be a dark red day for them today. Gary says definitely hold. Hey Felix, I love these bloody days. Says A, well perhaps A is sitting on a cash pile and is thinking of buying in. Fundamentals are still okay among NEO. Market is bringing it down. Relax, guys. Shares Supreme Steve there. Thank you very much. Julian, BRK bought MRK. Okay. Interesting. We can have a quick look at what that is doing by that news. Merck here. Okay. Is Merck reacting to that pre-market? Well, everything is down, right? Basically, right? But they probably bought that in, in December then? I imagine. So it's down since they bought it probably. I mean, we don't know exactly when they bought it, but they would have bought it somewhere around here, sort of the 80 mark, I imagine, and now we're at 75. Soon I'm buying MRK, says Julian. Okay, you're waiting for that to come down, are you? I haven't done an analysis on this for some time. Lucid confirmed the merger. Gray says LMS. Really? CCIV? Let's look at that. Merger announced. Okay, but the issue there, I think, is a question of sure. I think I've seen that, but the question there is one of valuation, right? I think that's kind of the question. And the other thing is like once you have the merger, we looked at that yesterday. We looked at quite a lot of the SPACs. People cash out. They're like, that was it, and now we are out. Be interesting to see long term whether that market cap holds a 15 billion. If this speculation goes out of it, I do think it has a chance, and they do deliver cars, and they are good, and they manage to get them out on time, and they drive and don't blow up and that sort of thing. I do think the new company could be a very, very positive one, but it does of course depend a little bit on exactly what they have acquired, how much have they actually acquired. I think that is a little bit the question here. We just got the news release here. We can look at that together, guys. The transaction includes approximately 2 billion cash by CCIV and a 2.5 billion fully committed PIPE with an investor lockup provision that binds holders beyond closing. That's priced at $15 per share, a 50% premium to CCIV's net asset value. So that's what's tanking it, right? So the institutional investors who put in 2.5 billion buying CCIV at $15. So they are getting the discount of all discounts, and then so it's dilutive, and they're buying it much, much cheaper. So if you are holding CCIV, ouch. That's really basically what that is. And I think that's kind of, is that Wall Street screwing the little man? I think that's kind of a nice example of that, really. People are hoping to benefit from it, and then they basically cut their legs off by issuing shares at $15. Why did they do that? Well, probably institutions didn't want to pay any more than $15. I think, but that's fundamentally the valuation there, and everything else has been speculation. So CCIV is going to have an ugly day today. I think a very, very ugly day. I hope people got out. If they haven't yet, I think this might be the time to jump. Though, of course, guys, I don't give financial advice. This is all straight from the goat's mouth. So keep hitting that like button, guys. We support this gentle barn sanctuaries in the US with our likes. For each like of yours, I donate 1 cent, and that figure is adding up very, very, very nicely. Right, here goes lots more questions. Gary here, thank you. As Ben Graham says, invest only if you would be comfortable owning a stock, even if you had no way of knowing its daily share price. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, a lot of the real value investors say they basically don't look at share prices. I kind of find that hard to believe because I find it very difficult not to look at them. But yes. Piers, what's Lucid Self-Drive Tech worth? Absolutely no idea, Piers. Ian Simmons, this is why I love NEO. They're out there doing their thing already. CCIV scared the pants off me. I've been saying, if you've been watching me the last couple of weeks, it's highly speculative. Of course, some people made some good money on it. I hope people didn't get too burned too badly. Geez, 45.5 pre-market. You're talking about NEO here. Yeah, and let's look at volumes again. That's the crappy website of the Nasdaq. This one seems quite good. It's called marketchameleon.com. Never seen it before in my life, but it does look quite good. Volume is trending up, 5.2 million so far. So fairly sizable volume there. Stephen is wondering whether Chinese stocks will diverge from American stocks based on their own merit one day. Stephen, I think it's quite possible. I think eventually Chinese investors and Chinese funds and Chinese banks will have and manage so much money that the Chinese stock market will become somewhat more autonomous from the US, because at the moment, you know, the US is basically the world's largest capital market, and whether we are Americans or not, everybody is essentially investing in US products. That's where returns are the greatest. That's where the most money are, and to some extent, the most sophisticated investors are there. So I do think in the long run, as Chinese financial sector and sort of sophistication grows and keeps growing, I do think we are going to see a diversion there. And I mean, you know, I was talking about Alibaba, for example, the other day. If you are a mainland Chinese investor, you can't buy Alibaba stock in Hong Kong yet. It's not connected to that connect we have. So once that gets added, like Tencent, for example, you can buy, and 6.8% of Tencent is owned by mainland Chinese investors through that stock connect in Hong Kong. So say you put Alibaba on that, are then 6% of all Alibaba shares going to get bought the same day by mainland Chinese investors? Maybe. So, you know, it's not that there isn't money there. It's just that there are caps on cash outflow and that kind of thing. So the more that gets kind of liberalized, or they find a better way of getting around it, or perhaps you see more sophistication on the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges, and more money, of course. And that's what we are seeing. We are seeing more money. The more that keeps growing, I do think the Chinese stocks will no longer suffer so much under that sort of Chinese discount that we have on them all. Steve here is very bullish. He says, buy more NEO long-term hold. Here we go, markets open. Right, let's have a quick look then at what's happening here today in the market. So Nasdaq here. Right, what's happening? Well, we can let's look at NEO first, guys, because that's what we are talking about here. Let's see what's happening here. 46.30. Okay. And let's see what's happening there. That's looks like it's trending up a little bit. We can, of course, also make this a daily chart. Wow, that's small. And rejig this a little bit. And we can see minute by minute kind of what's happening here. This number is a little bit slower, right? Markets are open. 46.15. This says, what does... there we go. Right, there we go. Let's look at both together here, because sometimes Google is quicker, I find. Sometimes it isn't. 9:33. So you can see a similar trend there. Let me pull that chart up for you guys as well. You can see both. So yeah, interesting. I mean, hopefully the market opening was a bit of an overreaction. What are we seeing here in terms of? You can see down here the buy and sell orders Nothing massive, but yeah, this is pointing downwards again a little bit. Let me move this up a bit, guys, so you can also see it here. And you can see our support line there holding somewhat around the 45.60 or so mark. And then now we are moving. Is that a little bit of a green bar we see there? Or we can also put on a net volume down here. And you can see where that's taking us. That's a negative. And we are falling a little bit off here. So it's a bloodbath, folks, says Gary Lau. Yeah, Gary, I don't think it looks very positive, does it? I mean, look at my little tickers here, and I'm covering some of it with my enormous head. I'll move my enormous head in the other corner. You can see some of my stock ticks there that we talk about quite a lot. Neo, Tesla, Xpeng, Lee, etc. Everything down. Palantir down 9%. Baba down 3%. Amazon's down. Apple's down. CCIV is getting absolutely killed, minus 45%. Bitcoin also still down. Well, actually, no, it's up again. It's at 48,000. It's recovering, but still down on the day. Oh my, I need to go back to college to show there, Fernando. TCF80 will take years to recover, says Kevin. I mean, the trouble, I think, is I think, Kevin, you might have a point there that once you have that level of speculation in it, the stock does get burned a little bit. So I kind of think they overplayed their card there. I think they should have dampened the gossip rather than letting it run wild. But you know why they did it? Because it allowed them to raise that tranche of money at $15 by having the stock price that high. Had the stock price been at 10, I think they would have struggled to raise that money at $15. So, you know, the professional investors, I'd say, screwing Main Street here once again. Keep buying people on Spring and Lobby Green, says Antro Thomas. Neo's down $6. Do you trade based on Kumor Cloud? No, I don't. Just go and read YCCV down. Because they have issued sold shares at $15 to institutions. So it's a Data Watcher series on Netflix, Howard Chambers. That's probably a good thing to do and just not look at these numbers. If you can afford to not to do that, you can see Neo is going further down. Let me also just have another look at what is Google showing us here, 43.50. Not looking particularly pretty here. Let me refresh that. 43.94. So yeah, not looking like a particularly happy day for those of us who are long on quite a lot of these stocks that are looking very, very, very red here. Very substantial corrections in all the techs, basically. We can also have another quick look at just what the markets are doing. What are just US markets doing? Let me open that up. Let's look at the biggest volume items first, because that's sort of the most significant here. Apple, 14 million and down 2.5%. Microsoft, Intel, Chevron. So Chevron, Walt Disney, Coca-Cola up. Verizon is up. Boeing's up, down. Cisco is up a little bit. JP Morgan up a little bit. In terms of the biggest losers of the day, Home Depot. So obviously those results they put out did not support the stock. Salesforce also, they've just announced results too, I think, or about to. No, they're about to on Thursday. Apologies. Nike down, Microsoft, Intel, Walgreens, all down. Home Depot on pretty substantial numbers. Now, what are the winners today? Walt Disney, Procter & Gamble. So these are, you see, these are kind of like old world stocks that people see as perhaps more safe, that haven't had the greatest time in the last 6 months or so. So people are therefore piling into those. Dow Jones so far down 0.37%, S&P minus 0.93%, and Nasdaq down the most, 2.5%. Why is that? Well, Nasdaq has rallied the most, of course, over these last couple of months. So how about commodities? Also, everything is basically down. Gold and silvers are also down at the same time. People are obviously not expecting inflation. Let's look at some of the ETFs here. They are also mostly down. iShares, Russell, etc. That's all down. And yeah, so it's not a happy start to the day, guys. Apologies. Gary is shouting BRK. Yeah, maybe they're going to have a good time again. I mean, maybe this is the turnaround they need, but a lot of that is Apple. a huge amount. I know they sold some Apple, but they still have a lot of Apple, so they're losing money today too here with down 3.2%. That is going to hurt. But perhaps, and we're going to look at that here, guys, in the next couple of days, I'll do more technical analysis on some of these stocks, things like Microsoft and Facebook and stuff that I think are long-term value buys because they're not going to go anywhere, right? I mean, you try running your life without Microsoft, pretty hard to do. And they get subscription revenue from all of us, and they have cloud subscription and things like that. So we are going to look at more technical analysis and see when is it a good time to get into some of these stocks as this sell-off eases eventually, and it will ease eventually. The question is simply when. We can look at some technicals here on a daily basis here. That's quite interesting. You get strong sells for Apple, Amgen, Walmart, Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, etc. What do we get strong buys for? Boeing, Chevron, Walt Disney, Dow, Goldman, JP Morgan, Coca-Cola, American Express, Visa, sales, pretty boring companies, you could say, but that is kind of what the market is doing here today. Let's have a quick look at Nasdaq 100 because that is a lot more interesting, I think, for a lot of us here. Again, biggest volumes: Apple, Tesla, AMD. Wow, AMD down too. PayPal down 6.8%. Crikey. I don't really understand that, to be honest with you, but that's just everything going down here. Baidu, the Chinese search engine giant, down almost 10% here on fairly substantial volume. JD down, Modern down, Peloton, all sorts of stuff down, PDD down, Nvidia down. I mean, really, everything that's been benefiting the most from, here is Bill talking in the background. He's not bullish on Bitcoin. Okay, Bill. And then what is gaining here? Anything gaining on the Nasdaq? There are gainers on the Nasdaq. Well, there's Marriott, Amgen, PepsiCo, but nothing really techy, right? Please go away, Bill. Anything really techy here? Not really, but let's just keep another look at volumes because that is kind of interesting. It tells you where really things are moving fundamentally, most substantially. Okay, quite a lot. So could also have another quick look at Nasdaq Composite here. See if there's anything else in there that we haven't seen yet. Well, it's loading. So let's take some more questions, guys. When to buy the Neo dip, says random guy. Well, from the chart analysis we just did, and I'm going to have to put this back to a day. I'm not really a huge believer in doing sort of minute by minute technical analysis. I think you get slightly gibber. Crikey, we are now on a funny time scale, aren't we? 5 days, and reset this so we can actually see what we're looking at. And no, we want daily. Here we go. That looks a little bit better. Let's zoom in on that a bit, and then we can go back to something we can actually look at. Right, there we go. So let's look at some of the fastest moving indicators I look at are things like Williams R, for example, that moves pretty quickly. And that is down here at these very low levels, minus 96, very much though in oversold territory. And it's continuing down there. It's actually, is that trending upwards? Ever so slightly, right? Ever so slightly. But, we are down 16%, guys. That hurts. That is not a happy start to the day, is it? So yeah, that's Neo here getting punished even more severely than Tesla. Really, the whole tech sector is taking a big beating. It'd be interesting to see. We can look at this on a little bit more of a short scale, say on a 4-hour basis, for example. But we are still down there. I mean, we're still in the doghouse, really. Even if you look at on a shorter, let's go really short, 30 minutes. Still down there, not moving on 5 minutes, and nope, still down there, not giving us any kind of positive momentum. So I will personally not jump in at these prices because I think we might see a bit more pain. I'm always very happy to miss the bottom of a market. I have absolutely no issues with missing something out on something because let's open Tesla, guys. If you guys here say it's rising. We can look at that on a, I can't see it on this one. I can look at it on a minute by minute basis here. Yeah, there is some buy volume in here. You can see that. People are putting some money back into Tesla, and that's lovely to see. Thank you very much to he man to point that out. Jesus has asked, what will Neo be on earnings? Well, I think where we are today, it's a little hard to predict because this is some substantial volatility and some substantial sell-offs. Let's look at NEO's volume here. It's not enormous yet, but it is still 14. Is that 14 million? Yeah, 14 million. So yesterday we had a volume of only 18 million. Oh, sorry, hang on. This is per minute. I'm wondering what that made no sense. So on a day-by-day basis, today our volume so far is 16 million. That makes more sense. Yesterday we were at 68. So fairly sizable volume for the first trading hour. So be interesting to see, and we'll keep watching that, of course, if people jump in on this intraday and see the opportunity, or if people are a little bit spooked and they think that it is better to wait for this dip to play out and then get in, because nobody wants to buy a slide, right? So you guys are still saying Tesla is rising. You can have another look on that here. Tesla stock down 10%. Crikey, 639. And apparently that is sliding up a little bit. The PE ratio is now only 1,000. So an absolute bargain. For some people will certainly think so. Let's put that on here on a minute and we can see Tesla's. Well, yeah, we are selling off again here. So it's not really improving much there. There we go, 60, 630. Let's put in, can we put in a new Fibonacci on this? Let's just see if there is some sort of Fibonacci support level where we are now. No, Fibonacci refuses to go as low as this. They're basically saying, no, it makes no sense. Tesla should be higher. Fibonacci doesn't agree with these prices, but yeah, we're still dipping around at 630, below 630. So it does seem there's a bit of support at 630, but now we're below at 626. So LMS, you get a notification after notification from you. Finance stocks are down. Yeah, oil and gas, banks, gold mining, coal and silver. Well, let's have another look at those, if those are really moving up or not. What is up? Okay, we're looking at Nasdaq here. Let's have a quick look at commodities. If it'll let us. Will it let us? Right, let's hit the refresh button. Why is it not showing us that? There we go. It's refreshing. Commodities, also everything down. Gold's down, silver's down, gas down, oil is down. Let's have another look at the S&P 500 to find out if some of the old guard are up at least. Well, by volume, Bank of America, AT&T, yeah, that's these are sort of, you know, the solid blue chip stocks of the US. I don't know why it doesn't want to show us that by order. It seems perhaps too many people are looking at investing.com at this particular point in time. Here we go. CBRE is up, relatively small volumes though. Anything major up here that we know about? Procter & Gamble is up. So it does pay in these times to also have some defensive stocks, to have some value stocks, because they sort of soften out your portfolio. And yeah, in the good times, when from the tech point of view, when they do go up, you sort of think, well, I'm missing out. I could have made an extra 100%, but I didn't. But that's kind of, I think, why a balanced portfolio is in the long run always what makes us happier, because at least we got some green numbers in our portfolio here. Albemarle is down. Okay, interesting. Quite a lot. Macy's is down, getting killed here. Arconic, Tesla, but Tesla is leading the sell-off. Why? Well, Tesla is probably the one stock that has gone up the most. So that's typically what you see. It's sort of whoever's gone up the most is going down the most. But it is really pretty much everybody who's down here. It does not seem to differentiate between sort of good businesses, bad businesses. Just everybody's hit the sell button today. And that is not a pretty picture. We can just have a quick look here at indices again. Everything is pretty much down. The S&P volatility index, of course, is up. And that's an interesting hedge. I might do a video on that, actually, because that is kind of an interesting one. It basically moves in the opposite direction of the market typically, because it tracks volatility. So you make money out of volatility. So when your portfolio is tanking, the S&P 500 VIX does the opposite. It's kind of an interesting play. Alp is going down for a while. It's on my buy list. Yeah, I've also been looking at Albemarle there. I guess it's being tanked by Tesla too, probably. Never catch a falling knife, but I'm buying the dip, says Easy Man. I agree with you with that on the falling knife part. I think it is better. And as you know, guys, I don't give financial advice. This is just from our goat's mouth here. Baron von Goat, our channel mascot, guys. Every time you hit that like button, I donate 1 cent to him and his lovely sanctuary at the Gentle Barn, guys. So do keep supporting that, please. Better to miss the dip and better to buy a few bucks more expensive than to buy the falling knife. That's also my view. And I'm sometimes guilty of it also because we are all emotional, right? Like I bought a Palantir the other day at 28, I think, because I was like, oh my God, look at the sell-off. I got to get in on this. And of course I should have sat down and I should have looked at my technicals and I should have done all the boring things and said, no. You're going to wait a little bit, wait for it to go up again. And now we're 24.65. So I'm kicking myself a little bit, but that is a lesson, hopefully. And perhaps it is a lesson you will share in. But yeah, it is looking pretty red here today. Let's look again at the Nasdaq, guys. If investor, let's look at the Nasdaq 100. And then let's have another look at the Dow Jones as well after that, because it's just interesting to see what different sectors do. This is all sorted by volume. Why volume? Because, well, it sort of makes the biggest impact, right? Apple and Tesla are here the leaders, but everything is down. Baidu, 12%. Crikey. Really, the market is getting caned. Very few things are up. Very few things are up. Let's have a look at what's up on the Nasdaq. What is bucking the trend? Amgen, ADP, Mondelez, PepsiCo, Comcast. So the less techie you are, I would say, the more likely you are to be up here today. Although Trip.com is up a little bit, which is a very large, it's sort of the Chinese Expedia, if you will, quite a large company. And Cisco is up a little bit. So there's something a little bit techie in there. But it was up. Now it's at zero. So again, not so much. Let's look at the losers again here. Modern, Tesla, Baidu, Zoom down 10%, PDD. So really these are a lot of the stocks that have done very well in these last couple of months. Also benefited from the pandemic. Some of them, things like Zoom and things like that. AMD, Nvidia, etc. The chip guys also benefiting from the EV sector. They are down. And Apple is down as well. I mean, Apple also had that news that, Berkshire Hathaway have sold off quite a big chunk of Apple. They still hold a lot, but they have sold off something. So that isn't very, but Lululemon is, or, EA Arts is off. I mean, everything, absolutely everything is just getting caned here. Let's look at the Dow Jones. There must be some blue chips in here that surely they're benefiting. Procter & Gamble, Amgen, United Health, Coca-Cola, Verizon, JP Morgan, or the Berkshire Hathaway also jumped out of that. Merck, McDonald's, Cisco. So these are kind of your value stocks, right? The stuff that is deemed as safest and least likely to be affected by the fickles of the market. People are heading for bonds. You're saying, yes, possibly bond yields might well be down. Let's have a look here at, can we look at bonds? Okay, let's get rid of ETFs and let's look at bonds over here. I need to sign in. Okay, that's not going to help, is it? Let's just look at US bond screener. I haven't got anything I don't need to log into. Yahoo Finance, maybe we can look at that. Yahoo Finance. We don't want high yield bonds. We just want good old bonds. What's our changes here today? Okay, these are high yield bonds. What's the screeners? Index equities. No bond screener. Why is there no bond screener, guys? Guys, do a bond screener. Okay, I haven't got one up here. Let's look at here the 10-year bond yield. That is going down a little. So people are, well, I mean, it's a tiny movement, it's 0.4%, but it just means people are fleeing a little bit to safety. So that's an interesting one to watch. Be interesting to see also the 30-year Treasury yields, see where they are moving. We can also just see here, UK Ftse is also down just a little bit. Bitcoin, of course, still down. Japan was up a little bit today, like Hong Kong. Gold's down, silver's still down, crude's still down. Russell 2000 is down 2.5%. Nasdaq now down 3.3%. S&P minus 1.3. So overall, I mean, that's not that dramatic a move, right? You think Nasdaq down 3%? Okay, never mind. But it obviously is hitting, as we can see here, particular stocks that, and a lot of us probably hold those particular stocks that are being punished here the most. Tesla, Baidu, DocuSign, PDD, PayPal, Nvidia. You know, a lot of the stocks that we are holding, Apple, JD, all that sort of stuff, that is all down quite substantially, looking pretty unhappy, really. So yeah, not a brilliant start to the day, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I had a magic wand and we could only look at happy things. LMS saying, honestly, consider taking my money out of the market because it looks way too similar to this time last year. You're talking about the sort of February sell-off. I mean, there are different ways of playing it. One is you get out and you get back in and you have to time it. And the other is the more patient approach to simply wait things out. You are, of course, both are valid strategies. Apparently Palantir is up a little bit here. Yes. We can see it here. A nice little mini trend here. See, that's recovering a little bit there. People are seeing, I should make that not a red line, but a green line, right? Otherwise it's bad luck, surely. So let me make that a little bit of a thicker line. So there's a little bit of a positive trend there. Can we see anything like that with NEO? Yes. Look, guys. I mean, this is a minute by minute. So this is not going to give us necessarily a green day today, but there is a little bit of that happening here. Same with Tesla, which is what you'd expect. So there's a bit of a positive trend there. Let's see if that holds. What about some of the other guys? Xpeng, did we see that bigger sell-off today because of the lockup expiring? Well, it doesn't look like it, does it? And I would imagine, actually, if you've held Xpeng for years and years and years, are you going to sell it off on the day where it's down 7%? Probably not. You're probably just going to think, well, I'm just going to wait an extra month or week or a couple of days. Baba also here. Look, we are seeing a bit of a recovery across the board. Apple also, everything has the same pattern. CCIV probably won't. I think that probably won't. No, that is pretty much down there in the doghouse. What are the Nasdaq futures? They are still, well, yeah, they are getting a little bit of green volume there too, even. So even the Nasdaq futures are pulling up a little bit, down 3%. Well, now they're down again. So yeah, very, very volatile market we're seeing here. Is that NEO trend going to hold? Is that going to keep going up? It would be lovely, wouldn't it? If we can go back above sort of 45 or so. Now we have, with this here, we have got a new bottom here, recent bottom of 41.71, which I would say then becomes a new support line. If we test that again, you know what, that would actually be a good thing. If we go back to 41.71 and then go back up, that would actually be a good thing. PRT is up, NEO is up, better. Just enough says it's not a bad day, there's an opportunity. It really depends on your perspective, doesn't it? It also depends on how much cash you've got aside. And it's perhaps also just, I think, a little bit of a wake-up call for all of us who just think that this bull run is going to keep going. And I am actually of the view that we are going to keep going with our bull run because of the US government support, the Fed and the stimulus. But how do we take advantage of opportunities when the market does have a correction? The only way we can do that is by either we have cash, we could have perhaps treasury bonds, things that go up in bad times. We could hold, here's another one, is the S&P 500 VIX, right? It's up 8% today. Why on earth is that? Well, it measures volatility. Let me see if I can pull that up here. So it moves in opposite direction of the market. Actually, let me pull that up on here as a compare. VIX. And is that it? No, hang on. What is that? Yeah, VIX here it is, an index. So it should move pretty much in the opposite direction. And for that, we're going to have to go onto a little bit of a longer time period and look at a day. Now, NEO might not be the greatest stock to compare that against because it does move a little more unusually than most. But maybe we look at Tesla here also. The theory is that when the market drops because of high volatility, so when you see here at the end, Tesla falling off, you see the VIX moving in the opposite direction. Same here, where I have that blue line. You can see that thin blue line, guys. You had a sell-off here for Tesla, high volatility. Then you get this moving up. What's the advantage of it? Well, it means that in a falling market, if you have high volatility, you can sell your VIX and you can then buy stocks once they have nosedived. And as always, guys, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy it, I'm not recommending it. We are just generally speaking, entertaining the thought of what VIX is here and listening to our goat buddy, Baron von Goat, our goat mascot. So let's go back to just where we are here with the market. Isn't it 45.15 now? NEO, it does seem to be 45. It just sort of keeps bouncing up and down. We can go back to a one-day chart here and zoom in a little bit and see where we are. Pricing scale, down there we are. Whoops, I'm painting and painting and painting. So you can see, guys, here, yeah, we are still, that's positive. I mean, that volume isn't enormous. I mean, that's 64,000 US dollars in buy-ins, but some people are buying in, and that's good to see. Red Edwards is being rather, he thinks this is the big one. He thinks it's time to run and hide. Buy the dip before it goes up again, says the Mackie. You snooze, you lose. Buy NEO. Oh shit, I'm selling everything. Says like I have NEO at 64. Look, it really depends on everyone's stomach and everyone's how quickly they have to access their cash. How do they trade? How often do they trade? What's their time horizon? Certainly from I mean, we can look at some very, very short-term indicators here. And on a minute-by-minute basis, we are up we got a buy signal here at 9:49 a.m. this morning. But I don't recommend looking at things by minute basis. A, it drives you insane. B, you're probably not quick enough. And generally speaking, don't recommend that kind of sort of day trading as minute by minute. Should we buy BABA? Well, we can have a quick look over at BABA. BABA is also down only a little bit, actually, comparatively, 2.84%. And that's pretty much what Hong Kong did to BABA today. Where was BABA? BABA in Hong Kong closed down 1.2%. So the US market kind of starts minus 1.2% really to catch up because they are linked. It's the same stock, right? So we look at Alibaba on a 4-hour day basis, then we are still down here from a technical point of view. We got a sell signal on the 18th, and we are still in a sell pattern. Now the momentum is turning around. You can see that here, but it certainly is far off giving us a buy signal here from that Williams R point of view. But what? It really all depends on your time horizon. I mean, wasn't it Gary who said earlier, best not to look at stock prices, just believe fundamentally in the company. But I find that hard to do, I must say. Both Tesla and NEO are up. They are pulling back a little bit. Yes, absolutely here. Tesla is, let's make that back on a one-day basis so we can see what's going up there. A nice little V there. I'm still painting all over the place, aren't I, for no particular reason. Big green lines everywhere. You can see, yeah, nice V there. It's continuing, which is good to see. So we have for Tesla here also a new support at sort of 619, which is in fact, yeah. So that's kind of an interesting one there. NEO down a little bit more still, but again, also catching up. It's going back up, guys. People are buying NEO at 46.17 now or so. Pretty small trades, all of these. I mean, these are not huge trades. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, guys. See that down here? You can see how many are being offered for buying 1,000 and sold for 100. Not huge positions, so lots and lots of small retail investors there getting in on the dip. Gary go says Gary Lau. I'm glad you're cheering on a stock. I'm sure it's listening. Imagine CCAV, a company that hasn't merged yet and haven't sold a car and its price is above NEO's. Well, is it above NEO's? Nominally. I mean, in terms of market cap, it isn't. NEO's market cap is 71 billion. CCIV at the current drop is 8.7 billion. It's still a very substantial market cap for a company that hasn't sold a thing. This is good fun. Thanks, FF, for the community. Very much appreciated, Gary. And we also have lots of fun and entertainment over on our Discord channel, guys. If you want to join that, click below on the Patreon link that gets you there. And I also put lots of information out there during the day, and we're going to increase that more and more. Also links to these live charts and my technical analysis. You're always the first to know. And I look at probably 100 things in a given day, and most of them simply don't make it into a YouTube video. One is the YouTube algorithm, as wonderful as it is, and if you want to help me with it, guys, click that like button and hit subscribe. That helps me tremendously. There are things that are simply not as popular, and also there are smaller bits of news. I can't make sort of 30-second videos on everything. Also, YouTube doesn't like me doing it. So I can put those things over onto our Discord group there. So check out that link, that Patreon link down below, guys. It's a wonderful community. Bought a bit more Neo today, says Stephen. Okay. Andreas Bay, Neo gave me dizziness today. Lol. Apologies for that, Andrea. I wish I could only report the good news, but you know, you have to cover what the market throws at you. We're looking at CCIV. Actually, let's look back at Neo. Tesla is also moving up still quite nicely here. You look at that V, that is really quite nice. It is a bit of a rally after a very, very strong sell-off. Just enough. You've joined our Patreon. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support. And we're gonna ramp that up as well. I mean, we've literally been going there for sort of 5 days, and there's already lots of things on there. Lots of you guys chatting on the Discord groups. But I'm working on lots more things. For one, actually a live stock tracker spreadsheet that is connected to a data service. I really want to get that up and running for us all. I'm just looking at what licenses there work, because I find it so difficult to track when I buy a stock at 50 and then at 60 and then at 40 and then at 50 again, you know, and then I get some sort of random average. And what am I really doing? How am I gaining week on week? I like to look at things weekly. I like to basically have accounts. So that's what I'm going to put out there for you guys as well. Neo's 85% of my portfolio, says Frank there. Wow. Okay, you are very bullish and very on one stock there. Well, at the moment we are dropping a little bit again here, but we are at 45.97. We are still somewhat above that sort of support line we had there at 45 or so. We also got new Fibonacci lines in here. Can you see that in the background? There's colorful lines. So the resistance here was that green one at 46.69. We didn't manage to break through that, and now we are trending down again. So we will have to watch out for the next one, which is at 45.51. We are hoping not to go below that. If we go below that, that isn't a trend yet with Fibonacci. You always need to go through 2 lines. So you would have a sell-off trend again on this very, very short-term, minute-by-minute basis if we went below 44.05. Hopefully, we are going to see that moving up a little bit. At the moment, the open, there are some big buy orders here. 1,000 shares I just saw. So there are some people buying in. But yeah, there's another 1,100 share order there. Can you see that? Does that update still when I magnify it? No, it stops it for you, doesn't it? There. Yeah, strange. No, it doesn't do it. It seems to freeze it. But yeah, you can... what's going on here? This is it's like watching a thriller or something, isn't it? That's unfortunately dramatic. We are all on the edge of our seat, hoping that this thing will go up. Okay, when I have the magnifying glass on, guys, apologies, it freezes here. So we are getting a little bit buy momentum in there. That's a positive. What we want this to do is, so it went from the lowest Fibonacci line down here at 41.69. I'm going to show you that one here. It went up through this one, 44.05. It got resisted. It didn't break through the 45.51. No, it did. But then it's struggling with the 46.69. So we need to go above 46.69 to continue this rally, and then go through 47.86 to be back on a positive upward rally. Okay, in Yana there, okay, you bought Neo at 241, so you're not too worried, really. I know it's not going to look good for your total today at the moment, but you are basically sleeping soundly no matter what happens here. Toby is buying Neo. Xpeng is also great. Buy it. I have no money in that, unfortunately. Ian, absolutely. The only word of caution with Xpeng today, guys, it is the end of the lockup period. So the original investors, the directors, the management, the founders, and the PE money have not been able to sell shares until today. Now, they might not sell today because what the market is doing. They might want to wait for a greener day to dump their stock. So that could be today or tomorrow. So just a little bit of caution there. You might see some sizable blocks coming on the market and a little bit of pressure on XPeng, which could, of course, be a good buying opportunities. But just I want you to be aware of that. We can see it. It doesn't freeze. Okay, James. Okay, that's good. I'm glad. Joshi says XPEV market cap is only 25 billion, has 2 plants completed, will be able to produce 100,000 cars per year. It'll outsell NEO in the next couple of quarters. As such, XPeng, you're basically longer on that than NEO. Thank you for your thought on that, for sharing that, Joe. Much appreciate it. Everything is cheap. I'm buying everything, says Wall Street God. Okay, good. I mean, I think really what this makes me realize is, like, we need to have a plan in place for the next major correction so that we can act and respond. JD Rana is sharing a bit of news there on NEO. Absolutely. We mentioned that earlier also here. NEO has delayed their 100 kilowatt hour battery upgrade. So if you are renting the batteries and you can then upgrade to the next one, you would normally be able to get your hand on the 100 kilowatt battery. But NEO is basically saying, we need these for the new cars we're putting out. If you're on an old car, you're going to have to wait 2 more months, probably till sometime in April or early May, until you can upgrade your existing, say, 75 kilowatt battery to 100. So there's a bit of a battery shortage there. But you know what that also means? I think that also means that they're actually delivering quite a lot of cars, because otherwise they wouldn't have that shortage, I would have thought. Although there is, of course, a battery shortage, but it might indicate, I don't want to put a positive spin on everything, but it might, I've just had that thought, it might indicate good numbers for February, that they are holding back these batteries. Any news on the Sinopec deal yet, says James? Nope, nothing yet. Pretty much still sort of post-Chinese New Year here, not a lot happening there. We're still waiting for that. I will, of course, cover that as quickly as we have. Could you please comment on the gap at $60 with NEO? $60 gap. What's the gap you see? You're talking about this gap here? That's the opening. So that's basically what happened in the beginning of the day, because that's pre-market. You just see that fall. And pre-market doesn't have time because the chart only tracks the open trading hours. It doesn't track pre-market, so you just get these kind of drops when you go. Elon Musk has joined us and he says NEO to the moon. Welcome there. Gary Lau, value for cheap is the name of the game, like Baba last Christmas. That's got to be a strategy. I think that's got to be a strategy if you believe fundamentally in the valuation of that company. Can we see Tesla under $300 correction? Wow. That's I don't know. I mean, look, we went down to 620 and we're seeing a buyback in now at 675. So obviously some people see this as a big buy opportunity. And we're sort of now hovering around the 675. We've gone from that support level there to 1, 2, 3 Fibonacci lines, which would indicate that we are likely to go higher. We know we might actually go back up to kind of where we started the day. Tesla now only down 5%. NEO now down only 6%. So this panic at the beginning of the day might actually fizzle out a little bit. We're seeing a lot less dramatic moves here. Bitcoin's back at 48,000. Let's have another quick look here, an overview. Let's start with the Nasdaq. Volatility index is also now only up 8%, 3%. That was up 8% earlier. So volatility is slowing down. Biggest volume movers today on the Nasdaq, Apple and Tesla. Apple by far the most volume, down 2.8. Tesla down 5%. AMD, Microsoft, etc. following. What are the biggest losers here? Baidu, but that was down 9% last time we looked. So it is also people are buying the dip. And what's up the most? Trip.com. That's I really don't know why that is. That's a Chinese sort of Expedia. Marriott, Facebook. That's not surprising because that is a value stock in my view. I hold it for that purpose. And yeah, so nothing particularly hugely exciting there. Let's have a look at the S&P, guys. Again, biggest movers there: Apple, Carnival, American Airlines, Tesla, Ford. They're all down. General Electric is up somewhat. Bank of America is up 1%. So let's have a look at the biggest winners and losers if investing.com decides to show us here. Biggest gainers, extra space storage. That's a bit random, isn't it? It's low volume. Marathon Oil, Wynn Resorts. We saw actually in Hong Kong today all of the casinos and hotel companies moving up. Perhaps they are hoping that COVID is coming to an end and they're going to get some business again as the vaccines are being rolled out. MGM is also up. What about the biggest losers of the day? Iconic, Home Depot. We've just reported numbers. I haven't looked at them, but obviously they're not good enough. Albemarle, that was down a lot more earlier. That was down 9% or so. That's actually also recovering. PayPal is still down 4%. I find that quite surprising. But there we are. So yeah, lots of excitement. March 1st is earnings day, says Sadiq there. Absolutely, guys. Make sure you join us for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Actually, the live video is out for that already. You can set the reminder already. And we're also doing loads of other earnings calls this week, guys. So do join us on those. We've got Li Auto on the 25th. We've got Xpeng on the 8th of March. We've got Plug Power on the 26th. We've got Space on the 25th. We've got Hillian on the 24th. So loads and loads of excitement this week to look forward to. And we'll cover all that live. We listen to and watch the company's presentation to investors live, and we also listen then into the analyst questions and answers, and that's incredibly insightful, guys. There's really nothing like it if you want to get a feel and an insight for a company. Invest that 1 hour into yourself and just listen to that, guys. And we do, of course, also here compare it to expectations before and after the call, so make sure you join us for that. Siddiq Samin here is you are posting a little bit aggressively, Siddiq there. Calm a little, please. Yes, but 1st of March is New Year's earnings day. That is exciting, but perhaps not exciting enough to post it 20 times. Powell says inflation is still soft and the Fed is committed to current policy stance. Yep. So the Fed is basically buttering up the market here, supporting us. And that is what's driving this rally, I think. Without that, I think we'd be in trouble. But as long as Biden keeps dishing out checks and as long as the Fed keeps printing money and buying bonds and all sorts, I think we are still in a bull run here. But today is looking very red, but it's not looking as red as it was when we started. Though NEO here again, it's selling off a little bit. We're sort of zigzagging up here a little bit in a very, very short period of time. This is minute by minute. So but at least we are above the $55 line. And we are above that sort of support there. And we are actually above the, what's that Fibonacci line there at 45, what's that, 45.95 or something like that. Hard to see. It's covered by the chart. But yeah, just above, below 46, although we are heading possibly below 46. Quite an exciting morning, guys. Powell's speaking right now. Will a good earnings day spike NEO, says Kyla there. It could, if the earnings are really beating expectations are high. I likely think the earnings will be good, but not massively good. But I think delivery numbers will be better than expected. That's kind of what I'm hoping for there. Powell is speaking right now. He's put on some extra money printers, says Lily. Absolutely, he is printing faster than anybody can think, and that's what's fueling us. And that money, you know where it goes. It goes straight to Wall Street. Basically, it gets leveraged. You can take that cash and you can leverage it at 0% interest, and you can make out of 1 billion, you can make 7 billion or whatever, and then you can pump it back in the market. Hopefully that's what we're going to see. CCIV Casino, anyone, says George Clee there. Well, that is down today, down 35%. Why? Well, the merger is confirmed, but basically they have issued. We had that open here earlier. Look, they've issued 2.1 billion. They've issued 2.5 billion committed pipe that is public to private investors, basically. So you're getting essentially private equity investors or institutions putting in money into a publicly listed company. They're getting shares for it, and that is priced at $15 per share. And then they sort of rub salt into the wound here by saying that's a 50% premium to CCIV's net asset value, which is, of course, $10. So they're issuing shares at $15, and that is what's dragging it down. And I'm sure a lot of CCIV shareholders, they are very, very irritated that Wall Street has just kicked the legs away under them. So yeah, that's not a lovely move, I think. But, that's how they do it. Philco, BlackBerry. I think BlackBerry is an interesting one, but too much speculation of late. I think that's a little bit the problem with it. When you have Reddit investing in it for no particular reason, other than it's called BlackBerry, then valuations I think are perhaps a little inflated. Liddy, there's Powell speaking live. We could look at that, but I don't think we're going to get all that much from it. We basically know what he's going to say. He's basically going to say, we don't think there's going to be inflation. We are going to keep printing money and we're going to keep supporting the economy. And we think that's very important. And we think that unemployment numbers are actually much, much higher than the number we see the headline figure, because people are simply have dropped out of the market, and therefore we actually have 10% unemployment and so on. That's basically what he keeps saying. And he just keeps telling us that all the time so that we keep believing it, and we keep believing in that he will keep the markets fueled. And as long as people keep believing it, it is true. Facebook's now up 1.66%. So Facebook is now a safe stock. It is no longer a tech stock, guys. It is a value stock. People jump at it when the market goes down. Lots of things are down here, really quite a lot. What's Apple doing there? Apple down 3% only. So the sell-off is flattening out, right? I mean, that's the nice thing. And also at the same time, the companies that are up are not up a huge amount. Let's look at the biggest volume movers here again, guys. Apple and Tesla still. Tesla down 6.5%, 6.1%. That is a big improvement on where we were earlier, of course. And the volatility index is at 5%, up 5%. So also volatility is down, which is surely a good thing. Near to the moon, lol. We don't go to the moon anymore, lol, says Juan Motorsports there. Well, the only people who go to the moon now are our goats. Here's Baron von Goat, our channel mascot, guys. So if you want to support his sanctuary, the Gentle Barn, I donate 1 cent for every like to these Gentle Barn sanctuaries. I can't say that often enough. Fed will continue to support the market. Absolutely. Are you going in CCV? Asks George. I think the casino there continues. If you look at a lot of the SPAC charts, and you will see that once you have these rallies and then the merger, quite often you are down for quite a long time. Abdul, all red in my portfolio. I'm sorry to hear that, Abdul. I wish I could turn things green here. But they are not as red, that's the positive take on this, as they were this morning. But they are still here. Neolix gone down again a bit and is now rallying up again. We need to get through that 47.32 line, 47.31. We need to break through that. We failed to do that in the last effort at 10.11, and that's kind of what we are gunning for. DNS, I appreciate you enjoying our coverage here. Nokia is huge 5G company. Very true. They have a lot of good tech, and especially with a lot of countries around the world not wanting Chinese tech for 5G, these companies will benefit from that. Absolutely. It's GS for Kota. Okay. Absolutely, one. Hey, you're having a lot of fun. Okay, that's good. As long as you're having fun. I mean, that's the main thing. Who's buying? Well, some people are buying. Obviously, we have had quite a pullback here with NEO. I mean, we were down at 41.16 or so, and now we are at 46. That is quite a big bounce back, and it is also above our sort of 45 something support lines, but we are not quite where we'd like to be. Xpeng, the best EV, I think so, says Global Man. I think it's a very good EV. I like it. I mentioned it earlier, guys, but if you've just tuned in, Xpeng's lockup period has just expired today, so just watch out for that a little bit. Some of the original shareholders, directors, founders, PE funds, etc., might be able to sell off today. Given what the market's doing, they might also hold off and just sell off in the next couple of days. So just be a little bit careful there. Can be a great opportunity, of course, lockup periods ending. Look at Palantir the other day. Where's Palantir today? How bad am I aching here? Hurting. $26. Okay. It hasn't really gone up much. Let me have a quick look at that for purely selfish reasons. Well, it has recovered. We were at 1024. It is recovering. Again, Fibonacci here, all right as always. The 2661 line was the resistance, and it has failed to get through there twice. So hopefully lucky on the third attempt. Let's have a quick look over at Tesla. Tesla is also recovering, now at 67.2. I mean, we were down at 619. So this is actually That's 10% up from the bottom of the market there. And Lee is down quite a lot. Really, a lot of things. Barber not down that much. I'm quite happy to see that. I think Barber is a value stock in my view, so that's kind of happy. I'm quite happy to see that. Amazon down only a teeny tiny bit. They've recovered quite a lot of the losses here, only down 1.2%. CCIV still getting killed, 35% down, but it's a bit of a buy-in there too. We were down as low as 30, and now we're at 36. But of course, still a pretty big sell-off. I wish I can have more money to average my loss, says Carl in there. I think that's perhaps the takeaway from this morning here, that we should make a plan, all of us, what we're going to do when there is a bigger sell-off, so that we can benefit from it. And one thing we're looking at earlier today here was VIX. If you don't know what VIX is, I might do a video on that. I think it's quite an interesting one. The S&P 500 VIX measures volatility. So typically when as a big sell-off, you get high volatility. Therefore, your VIX goes up. You can then sell your VIX and then you can buy stocks with it. A little bit the same theory with long Treasury bonds, but that isn't working as well at the moment, I find. Treasury yields, what have we got here? They're up a bit. Is that still accurate? Let me hit the refresh button on this Yahoo chart. This is 10 years. Yeah, they are up a bit, 0.4%, but not massively. I mean, that wouldn't really make you enough money, would it, to give you a big chunk to invest, whereas VIX was up at one point today, I think 8 or 9%, which would have quite nicely offset many losses. So that would have been quite a good move. Stephen Huang is buying and buying. Stedio says, I think we've seen the bottom. Do we buy NEO now or wait for a bigger give? Rainy, look, I am precluded from giving specific financial advice. As always, this is entertainment. It is straight out of the goat's mouth. I can show you the technicals, I can show you information, but you have to unfortunately come to that conclusion on your own accord. If you want to know what I'm buying and when I'm buying it, I reveal that over on our Discord channel. So you can join that if you click on that Patreon link below, and then you see what I'm doing. But you have to, guys, always make up your own opinion. Carlin says there's a great opportunity to buy. We all may be broke, but we all money in Neo 47 and climbing. Yes, it is still climbing, and that's lovely to see. There is that resistance here at that. Let me zoom in a little bit, guys, so we can see a bit more. If we zoom in here a little bit, you see that little black line there at 47.31. That is the Fibonacci resistance line, and we failed to get through that here a couple of minutes ago, and we are having another crack at it. I feel we need to get through that so that we have gone over it. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Hopefully we stay over that. We are then on another minute by minute rally. I mean, we don't normally look at minute by minute charts, but here we are live, so it's a good time to do it. And yeah, hopefully that therefore we're going to keep recovering, and hopefully we're going to crash through 47.83. That's the next resistance, and then 48. That's a nice number, isn't it? 48. Surely that's lucky. That's all eights if you add it up. So we might see a nice recovery here. We're now just down 6%, which doesn't seem so bad if you've been watching us from the very beginning here. Philco wants me to do a deep dive on BB. I'll gladly do that, Philco. Yeah, there is definitely an EV opportunity there. When I looked at it last time, I just thought that the valuation was a little bit on a crazy level. Pierre wants me to say hold, buy, or sell. Pierre, if you know me, you know I can't give you financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, therefore I can't legally give you financial advice. I generally speaking, it depends on your horizon. It depends on your stomach. If you buy stocks that you fundamentally believe in, you think they're going to do great things over the next 5 years, and you don't need to access that cash, I would, generally speaking, wait out dips. There might also be opportunities to buy, but if you sell the dips and you buy the highs, if you follow the headlines, then you do what most retail investors do, and you basically lose money investing. So, as Warren Buffett says, basically patience wins the day, not the day wins the years. So it is about patience, but it depends on, your situation. If you think, well, I need to access this money to pay for X in 10 days time, then that's a very different situation than if it's spare cash that you're putting aside for the very long time. AMC, well, I mean, that is, again, such a speculative one. it's possible that it'll go back up. Why? But why is it going up? It's going up because Reddit is targeting it. You know, the sort of the anti-Wall Street crowd, if you will, and it's fun that they're doing that. But fundamentally, AMC as a business, I mean, I'm not particularly bullish on it. And that's why it was shorted in the first place. It was an easy target. So I like to stick to companies that I think are actually going to be greater in 5 years or 10 years' time. I'm not sure with that with AMC. Powell is Super Bowl by allowing inflation more than 2%. Well, he's wishful thinking, right? He's hoping for inflation. I don't think he's going to get any. And that's why gold isn't moving. I mean, we can have another look over at what's happening here. What are commodities doing? Gold's down. Silver is down. And that's because nobody believes him. People don't believe that he can create inflation. And that is a little bit of a problem in one way or the other. But if that encourages him to keep printing money, it is good for the stock market. But yeah, the gold and silver markets, you would expect them to rise when they think the Fed is printing 1.6% extra money month on month. And that's what they're still doing. That's what they're doing in January. So people basically don't believe them. And that's a little bit of a problem because they know where that money is going. It's not going into the real economy. It's going into assets like stocks and real estate. And it isn't really causing sort of real world inflation to your day-to-day man. Hotels have recovered close to pre-pandemic, as I read Edwards. Yes, I think we got to see quite big improvements there. Let's look at the Dow Jones here. I think we had some positives in there. Marriott is also reporting numbers this week. I mean, they're going to be pretty awful, but perhaps there'll be some silver lining in there. JP Morgan's up, American Express. See, these are your value stocks, right? So people are not fleeing stocks. They are just putting their money into things that they think are perhaps at lower valuations and that are perhaps more safe because they have high free cash flow. They've got lots of assets and they're kind of essential consumer staples. Let me just wait for this chart to show us a percentage change here. Why isn't it doing that? I think too many people are looking at investing.com. If you're on the website, get off it so we can look on it. Come on, give us that. Okay, I'm going to click refresh on this, see if that lets us do it. Bit sticky. I guess they're experiencing rather high traffic. Here we go. Home Depot, Apple is down, Nike down, Salesforce down, Walmart down. Salesforce is reporting numbers this week, but I think that's on Thursday. Boeing's down. Well, I think they lost a few engines, didn't they, over the Netherlands? So that might explain that. Coca-Cola is down. Okay. That's interesting. What's up here? Visa, Procter & Gamble, all the real blue chips. Yeah, interesting. Let's have another look over at, shall we look at all stocks, all US stocks, look at absolutely everything, big or small, and see what's happening here. If it allows us to sort it. Just to give you an overview, S&P 500 is down 0.82%, and the Nasdaq is 1.8%. That doesn't seem so bad now, does it? It doesn't seem like a huge movement, and volatility index up 4.78%. So that's calmed down. That was sort of 8-9% earlier when we started this live. Let's just see if that refreshes again. We have another quick look here at our lovely friend Neo at 47. So yeah, you know, we're seeing some traction, but then we're coming back down again. We're going back up again. So hopefully we're going to keep repeating these sort of zigzag patterns. That will be nice if we can, you know, keep doing this and that and this and that and this and that, and we keep zigzagging our way back up. But at the moment, we can't really promise that. We can have a quick look at indicators. So Williams are still positive. It's still in the green space, but this is minute by minute, guys. So this is not a day. Do you want to see the day? That's going to be a very, very different story. I need to reset this. If you then look at the indicators, I think Williams are, we are still very much in a sort of a bad momentum there. The shorter the time period you look at, the shorter the time period you're essentially forecasting for. And I sort of therefore think that the less useful it gets, but you can see momentum's improving, but not all that much yet. So let's go back on the intraday here so we can see what's happening here minute by minute. Let me zoom in on that, guys, a bit. Because this is the interesting part here. So what's Tesla doing? Tesla's just down 4% now. So we are improving. Xpeng is down a bit more. So perhaps we did see some institutional sell-off here. A little hard to tell. because everything is selling off, so you can't really separate it. Palantir is moving up a little bit here. I'm happy to see that because I hold some of that. Baba is moving only a little bit, down 2.4%. I can live with that. CCIV deals still down quite a lot. HCMC also down 21% today. Anything speculative? EHang is getting beaten over the head again, down 10%. Bitcoin climbing its way back up to 48,000. So guys, let's do another roundup, wrap up here of what's happening to all stocks. That's the Dow Jones. I wanted to see all stocks. That's what I wanted to see. If it allows us to load that. Disney's actually been doing well during the sell of Gassi. Yeah, I mean, they've been getting a lot of subscribers, right? And that's sort of a real silver lining there for that business. And then once their parks reopen and people start to travel again, you would think that they would, come out of this in fairly good shape. There's still a lot of debt, though. I mean, that I think is one thing with Disney, but I do think there are some good things in there. Literally, investing.com is probably overloaded here. Disney just released in Singapore today. Disney Plus. Okay, fantastic, Lily. Thank you for sharing that. Their subscription business, I think they've accumulated 35 million subscribers, and I think they had allowed something like a 2-year period for that, and they got that in a couple of months. Having people at home with their children who aren't at school, I think it's a real encouragement for parents to pay for Disney. So there is always a silver lining to these things. So what are our big sell-offs now? It's Baidu, actually, modern here to Zoom, but it's looking a little bit more like a normal day. I mean, a 2-3% sell-off, I think people can live with. When you get into the sort of 9%, it looks a bit scary. Marriott here is up 1.9%. Trip is up. That is the sort of Chinese Expedia. And I guess they are hopeful that maybe there were some travel numbers out in China as well, that people are traveling a little bit more than expected. Facebook, Mondelez, Ross stores are up a little bit here. So I think we started here, I think, really very much on a, oh my God, what on earth is happening? NEO is still down 7%, but it's not looking quite as drastic as it was when we started the day. So that is somewhat refreshing, I'd say. What were the other NEO news we had earlier today? There's a 100 kilowatt battery that's in short supply. I'm hoping that's because they're selling a lot of cars, not because they can't get any batteries, but we'll have to wait till the 1st. And for that, guys, make sure you join us for that earnings call here live. And Xbank's lockup is up today. The Chinese EV sales predictions are out today. I had that open here somewhere. Here we go. And they are very positive. By 2025, we expect 35% of all cars sold to be EVs in China. That will be good for everybody we're talking about here. Facebook is in the black now. Yeah, I think Facebook is a different case there, really, Steve, because Facebook is a value stock. It is basically the world's largest advertising platform. It's not really a tech stock anymore. Can you look at Palantir? Very gladly, I like Palantir. Yeah, it's moving sideways now, really. Since this morning, we get the full day on here. So you see that sell-off here, and then we see a bit of a recovery. We are down 5% still, but trending more sideways than anything. We're struggling there to get above that 26.53. That's the Fibonacci resistance line there at 26.53. So that's what we need to break through, 26.53. And then we are hopefully off flying again a little bit. Volumes are, what are the volumes today? Let me look at the day for that quickly. 1 day, Palantir. The volume is 69 million. Yesterday it was 183. So 1/3 of the volume by, what time is it now in the US? 10:30, 10:45, 10:37. So a lot of volume, that is. That is really substantial volume. So hopefully we'll see more recovery for quite a lot of these guys. That would be nice, wouldn't it? If we can, if people seeing this as a buying opportunity. It also goes to show a little bit of how much cash people have is sitting around if they are buying in at these rates. Certainly Williams R here on a minute by minute basis is giving us a positive indicator. So that's kind of interesting. Guys, if you have any more questions, do shout them out. P.A. Löfgren, good to have you on the chat here, one of our members, who's also on our Discord channel in And if you want to check that out, guys, do click on the Patreon link below. We share over there lots of information, and I also tell you what and when I buy it and for what prices. Lefgren bought more NEO around 44, ready if it dips again. Okay, good that people like you are out there who are willing to take opportunities when they present themselves here. So NEO here struggling with that 47.79 Fibonacci resistance line. That's what we need to get through here. The moment we're struggling a little bit with that. I also have my little pink line I drew in here earlier, which was a support line at that time. So you can see that here. Hotels are back. Marriott is back to pre-pandemic. Fantastic. That's good to know. How long will it take for PLT and companies like that to recover in the market in general? I mean, this is all momentum, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Nothing sort of really has happened fundamentally. It's just momentum. So the Fed talking as they are at the moment, that helps a little bit. And then printing money helps. If Biden gives us more cash, that all helps. And of course, it depends a little bit also stock by stock. The stocks that are valued the highest have a little bit the hardest time. But then some stocks like Tesla, NEO, etc., have a pretty loyal following. So they are moving back faster. I mean, look, we were down this morning, Tesla like almost 10%, right? Now we're down 4%. So you do see rather quick recoveries. Bye said 42 was the base, well spotted there. Felix, what's your price prediction by end of 2025, Lily? Okay, well, I mean, I think today might not be the day for that. We've done these numbers before, and I'll do more on that as well. I'm going to put out a Palantir a long-term prediction as well today. I've just done the video, but I'm going to put it out after this one. It's really a question of, just take the growth, take the margins, compound it over time. That's really how you get to growth. Do you think the dip in tech stocks related to Europe's emerging plans to come out of lockdown? Well, I would kind of think that coming out of lockdown would be positive. Though my personal feeling there is that I think Europe is doing it a little bit prematurely, but we have to wait and see. Facebook is in the green. Absolutely. Facebook is a value stock and actually does well now in downturns. And that's kind of interesting to see. How a tech stock can become a value stock. Why? Because it's not about tech anymore. It's about having billions of users and being basically the world's largest advertising platform, perhaps next to Google. So it's all about advertising with Facebook now, and that's it's an interesting business. I like it for that reason. But S&P 500 now down only 0.7%. Nasdaq still down 1.7%, but that's not that much. And also volatility, guys down here, volatility index is now only up 2.9%. So volatility is coming out of the market, and that is good. So yeah, that's I think, guys, that's about the roundup. I think it probably isn't healthy for us to watch this minute by minute for the rest of the day. I think go and do something else and, have a productive day. Markets will do what markets will do unless you are intending on buying or selling at a particular price point. I think we can sort of reconvene on this, check it out later in the day and see what happens. And we will, of course, be back with lots more coverage. I'm going to put out another PLTR video just after this, guys. So make sure you are subscribed. And if you want to get more information when I'm not online, do join our Discord. Lots of fun over there. And you can join that through the Patreon below. Quite a lot of us here on the chat are already on that, guys. So thank you very much for your support and for tuning in. Everybody who's subscribing, you got us to way over 11,000 subscribers, which is super exciting because we've only been doing this basically since Christmas. And I really enjoy it. I love this community. Lovely to talk to you guys as always. And so very, very much, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you join all of our earnings call coverage this week. So make sure you turn on those alerts. I'm going to put out all those live notices over the next couple of days. And there's lots of excitement. If you are into EVs, guys, you have to listen to XPeng. You have to listen to Li Auto, Plug Power, all that stuff that's coming out this week. An absolute must, I think, for any investor. So make sure you are with us on that. And then we can discuss it. So thanks very much. Yes, support the animals, guys. If you want to hit that like button for the Gentle Barn, I'll donate 1 cent for each like for all likes across all my videos. So do always bear that in mind when you open them up. You can simply hit that like button. That's a wrap here from Hong Kong. Good night or good morning. Have a lovely day, depending on where you are.